welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to look at writing and words, which of course is very important in all things public relations. We have to make sure that we use the right words at the right place, at the right time, and also in the right instances. Whether we're looking at AP style, which is very common, to different phrases and things that people use inaccurately. So let's dive right in. 10 common phrases almost everyone gets wrong. If mistaken words are used often enough, people start to repeat and transmit them in different forms. Here are some of the most common idioms that people mishear and misunderstand. If you hear Taylor Swift singing about all the lonely Starbucks lovers on blank space, that's a mondegreen, which is a misheard lyric that gets repeated so often it becomes almost as ubiquitous as the correct version. Got a long list of ex-lovers in Taylor's case. The same thing happens with common idioms and phrases. If mistaken words are used enough, people start to repeat and transmit them in different forms. Here are some of the most common idioms that folks mishear and misunderstand. Did a 360. Double check your math on this one. There are 360 degrees in a circle, so performing a 360 degree revolution will land you back exactly at the beginning. Perhaps you mean that, but if you're implying that you made a great change, the correct version is did a 180. In that case, you left your starting point to move as far away as possible. In other words, you completely shifted yourself, either metaphorically or physically. A scapegoat. The word you're looking for here is most likely scapegoat. This translation of a biblical phrase refers to a person or thing that can be blamed for the mistakes of others. And a scapegoat might be found if livestock gets loose on a farm, but it's not a common idiom. First come, first serve. The proper way to write this phrase is first come, first served. One little letter might not seem like a big deal, but served indicates that whoever arrives first will be waited on first. The serve variation implies the first guest to come will serve all the other guests, which would likely be an unwelcome surprise. For all intensive purposes. The correct idiom for all intents and purposes comes from 16th century English law as the longer phrase to all intents, constructions, and purposes. Essentially, it means practically or in effect. This is an example of an eggcorn or a phrase people mishear and alter over time. Hunger pains. The original phrase is hunger pangs, although pains could technically be correct as well. The former is an older term that refers to the feeling of cramping that comes with an empty stomach. Since the word pangs is a bit outdated, it's sometimes mispronounced as pains, though they essentially refer to the same idea. I could care less. This one stirs up a bit of debate. When the words are parsed out individually, The accurate version to imply that you care a minimal amount is I couldn't care less. However, the American colloquialism of I could care less is so widely used that even dictionaries have accepted it. Nip it in the butt. While the thought of getting bit on the butt is pretty funny, the correct phrase is nip it in the bud. This idiom comes from the world of gardening. If you trim a plant while it's in the budding stage, it won't grow properly. That's precisely what you might want to do with a dangerous idea or rumor. Nip it right in the bud. On tender hooks. While you might feel a little tender while nervous or tense, the correct version of this expression is on tenter hooks. These hooks were used to stretch fabrics, and that stretching concept was extended to feelings of anxiety or worry. Tenderhook is just a mispronunciation of the real term. Pass mustard. Pardon us, do you have any Grey Poupon? Forget that popular commercial. While you might ask someone to pass the mustard at the dinner table, the correct wording for the idiom meaning to gain approval or acceptance is pass muster. It comes from the military term muster, which describes a formal inspection. You've got another thing coming. As with could care less, this alternate phrase has almost replaced the original, which is you've got another think coming. In other words, you're wrong and must rethink what you're saying or doing. The think version of the phrase is older and more likely to be used by British English speakers. So, keep those in mind when you're speaking, as you might find yourself making these mistakes, and quickly correct them when you can. That brings us to the end of this episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Samson King to make a small donation. Always appreciated. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.